Destination Medicine is a joint project of the regional training hubs. This podcast series brings you medical students' accounts of their experience in applying to study medicine. Welcome to Destination Medicine. I'm Peter Letts. It was while working as an emergency department nurse that Tristan Marino decided to study medicine. He had too many questions about his patients and their treatments that he just couldn't answer. The only thing to do was to become a doctor, and he hasn't looked back. He's a huge fan of the regional lifestyle and the benefits of working in teams smaller than are found in big city hospitals. And he's just starting down a new path towards serving his country as an Air Force officer. Tristan Marino starts by describing his move away from nursing to Nicole Goodman.
I actually found it quite hard to leave nursing. I absolutely loved my job as a registered nurse. And I think if it wasn't for me being an emergency nurse, I don't think I would have ever found my way to medicine. Training in ED, they safely train you to become quite autonomous in your practice as you progress. So the more I learned, the more questions I actually had. And that's what led me to want to study medicine.
That is really fascinating. So had you done your registered nursing degree and then thought, well, let me just do medicine?
To be honest, I wanted to be a musician. So I, whilst doing my music degree at the conservatory, I was doing my registered nursing degree up at Griffith because I thought I should have a career as well.
Yeah. A
realistic career. And when I finished both, I ended up loving nursing a lot more, which I was very surprised about. And my interest in, I think, health was sparked with me doing nursing. And now I just want to learn more and more.
When did you finally take the plunge then into a medical degree?
I guess it was when I was working as a nurse. I think me talking about the autonomy, and when I was asking more questions within the ED that I was working, I would get a response I didn't really like. It was like, you don't need to know that. And I didn't really like that. I feel like it's like a moment in my life or another moment in my life where I was expected to stay in a box, and I don't really like being restricted. But to add to that as well, I've always had a passion for First Nations health, and I have a lot of family and friends that have been affected by like inequalities and inequities within the system. And I really wanted to be a part of helping to bridge that gap.
Did you have a mentor or someone who gave you guidance regarding your career before you were accepted into medicine?
Probably once again the ED doctors that I worked with. Although in my nursing profession I was restricted in how much I was allowed to know, the ED doctors did not restrict me. So having them was amazing in my practice. And some of my favourite doctors that I met were actually nurses first. And I realised this when I saw how they dealt with patients. And I really asked them the question, like, were you a nurse? And they were like, yes. So seeing them in real time go through their training made it seem more attainable for me as well. So going through my medical training, I've had the opportunity to go to several conferences. And one in particular was the Australian Indigenous Doctors Association, and meeting, I guess, pillars within the community and my community, and seeing them go through a lot of First Nations problems made me aspire to want to train even harder and want to learn a lot more as well. So I go to an AMS myself, an Aboriginal medical service, and my GP is an Indigenous LGBTQI plus ally. So seeing her and going to the practice and even discussions as a patient, she would ask me, well, what can we do in our practice to help it become a safer environment? And seeing how pillars within our community want to help with the conversation is something that I want to be a part of and aspire to be better myself for the next generation as well.
So Tristan, did you enter medicine through a specific pathway then?
Not really. When I applied for medicine, I applied through the general pathway, so I still had to sit the GAMSAT and still had to put in an application. But as soon as I put in the application, I think maybe even like a couple of days later, I ticked the box stating that I identified as Aboriginal, and I received the phone call by the head of school asking me to appear into a Zoom with some of their colleagues and to discuss why I wanted to come into medicine. So I'm not too sure whether or not it was an additional pathway, but I was very supported throughout the process going into medicine. because of it.
Okay, so talk to me a bit about the transition from nursing to medical school. What was that like?
I think it probably would have been easier going from nursing school to medical school, but coming from working as a nurse for a little while, transitioning from working full-time to going back to studying full-time, that was probably the most difficult thing that I've done. Although throughout my nursing career I'd done more studies, via correspondence though, so having to turn up to a place 5 days a week was definitely something I forgot how to do. And was quite challenging. So my first 6 months throughout this transition into medicine, I was still working full-time, and I didn't do as well as I really wanted to, and I realised it was because I wasn't really giving medicine a real shot. So I changed my registration status, which doubled down the commitment for me, and I decided that medicine was the only option.
Now, you clearly have a passion for learning and for keeping very busy because you're also in the Air Force. How did this come about?
So I come from a family who've served within the Defence Force. Not the Air Force though, so if I'm being particular, that's probably why I've chosen the Air Force, because I don't have any family members in there. But it came across last year. I had thought about it since beginning medicine, but I wasn't in a point in my life where I was ready to actually do it. Whereas last year, I think something just clicked for me and I was finally ready to serve. It was still quite a commitment for me to apply myself to the Defence Force because it meant my training was limited to only becoming a rural specialist or a GP, which means if me being sponsored for third and fourth year, it means I give them essentially 4 years back. So I will do my PGY 1 and 2 in civilian medicine, and I myself will opt for a PGY 3 because I'll do an extra year in civilian medicine to go towards my fellowship as a GP, and then I'll enter officer training. So then that's when the 3 years will go back to them. And although it is a big commitment to these two pathways, I think that's why it took me so long to decide.
That's amazing. Do you have any time for yourself? Do you have any time to do things to relax?
I mean, I like to think that I'm always relaxed. And I think there's moments like when we're going through exam week and when I'm presenting something, or if I've got something that I'm really excited for and I feel the pressure towards it. But I think that stress or that little bit of anxiety, I work well under stress. And I think that's what also suited me well as an emergency nurse. When I grew up, my family would always call me organised chaos. So it really fits.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, at the moment you're studying at the Rural Clinical School campus in Orange. Has your clinical experience been different to your previous metropolitan placement, so your pre-clinical years? And if so, in what ways?
I think the smaller groups is what makes quite a big difference being out rural or regional Orange. I can't really comment too much on what metropolitan's like for the blocks that we're in because I haven't really experienced what they're like, but talking to friends that are in metropolitan and telling them what I've been exposed to and the opportunities I've been exposed to. So I just finished my crit care term in anaesthetics, ICU and emergency, and you really do feel like you are a part of the team. And sometimes it's a bit scary when the consultant yells out, "Where's the med student?" And you sort of look around because usually there's always like 4 or 5 med students around. And not here because you're on the block, like in that specific area by yourself. So they're looking for you. So sort of being thrown into it is a big difference for me. And I think the hospital's beautiful. The people out there, you know, I feel like it's rural living, but it still feels like a city, which is quite nice. And it's got everything, especially this hospital. So now I'm doing psychiatry and understanding that this hospital in Orange is one of the biggest psych hospitals in Western New South Wales. And unlike other specialties, we have to train at all different hospitals. Orange Bloomfield Hospital is the only hospital that you can actually complete your entire psychiatry training at because that's how big the campus is.
Well, on that then, tell us about living in Orange. What do you like about it and how does it actually suit your personality, do you think?
Well, my family comes from a rural town in New Zealand. And when I say rural, I mean 4,000 people rural. So coming to Orange, it seems still quite city to me. But it has such a rural feel. I don't know many places that, even myself, I've been in Orange for a couple of months now, and I recognise people all the time, and everyone just walking down the street saying hello, how are you? Everyone's so supportive, and that's something that I hadn't really felt in quite a long time being in Sydney. Especially because Sydney's so fast, whereas for some reason, although, I mean, country living's quick still, like everyone still finds time to be able to communicate with each other and let everyone know that they're there and that they've acknowledged your presence. So that's quite nice. And it's been so nice that my friends and I think, oh my gosh, so many people know us already. And it's a bit scary because then it means we have to behave even more.
What other benefits do you think there are to studying in regional Australia?
I live in southwestern Sydney and quite far away from Westmead Hospital where my last clinical school was. So that was a 2-hour travel time, or 4 hours actually, there and back every day. So having the ability to just drive 10 minutes to the hospital, that's probably one of the biggest benefits for me.
What have you found the most surprising being in Orange, in a regional community, do you think?
I think understanding that these communities don't have access to all the same equipment that metropolitan areas have. Like working in ED for my last block, someone coming in needing an x-ray at night time, but there's no radiographer at night time unless we call them in. So that was quite eye-opening for me. But there's always a team available, but if it's something that can wait till daylight, then they'll usually wait. So that was something that was quite surprising to me.
Having a sense of belonging is important to you and for most people. Have you found that sense of belonging studying medicine?
I think the true feeling of belonging is something, like you said, a lot of people look for. Whether it's at home with your family or with your friends or at work with your colleagues. I was quite surprised coming into medicine how much I felt it fit. It didn't fit straight away, and it's because I was still quite tied to like who I thought I was and where I thought I belonged. And I really had to go through a lot of reflection and figure out what belonging is to me, and realising that my sense of belonging is the connection to my identity as an Aboriginal and Maori man, but also my identity as the oldest son, a grandson, a brother, a friend, a partner, and that they're all pillars of belonging to myself. And I think everyone has different pillars, but medicine definitely is one of them now. And I was very surprised how much I wanted it, but how much I actually needed it once I was exposed to it.
As much as people try and prepare for their journey studying medicine, what do you think is something that people just cannot prepare for?
I don't think you can prepare for medicine. And if you could, I definitely didn't do very well at it. I feel as prepared as I could be coming from nursing. It wasn't until this year really that I was able to use any of those skills. The biggest thing I think I couldn't prepare for was how emotional going through medicine is. You're exposed to a lot of self-reflection, not just clinical, and within the degree it really transforms you and your thought process. Sometimes when I'm with friends, or when friends would ask me what I did today, I'll just look at them and I'll just say, I'm becoming. And they'll just go, what do you mean? And I'll be like, I'm becoming. Every single day, I'm becoming who I'm supposed to be. And like I would like to think for the rest of my life, I'm becoming a better person each day, but also better in medicine, a better friend, a better partner. So I would like to say like you become.
Can you talk a bit more about what it is about medicine? What is it that you're exposed to that draws out these emotions and where you find yourself becoming and growing and deepening as a person?
I think you're exposed to yourself. And that's probably the hardest thing I found going through medicine. It's always quite hard to make sure your assignments are on time or, turning up. But all those little things that you do, you become better by doing them. But there's a lot of emphasis throughout studying at Sydney Medical School that they put on you understanding yourself because of self-reflection and your attitude and your behaviours and your moods and how you are, who you are and why you are. And I think after first year, when we went through these workshops, that I really enveloped myself to learn who I was. And I think being faced with that and faced with, gosh, you're not the smartest person in the room, but being okay with that is a revelation. And also understanding that and knowing where you are in your life. I have so many amazing friends that are so smart and they're going to change the world, but I'm so thankful that I'm going to aspire to be just like them because that makes me better. And being okay with that is me becoming, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I have actually just got tingles. That is a very special thing that I think you've just expressed. And I hope that everyone hears that. That's probably a really key message, a beautiful sentiment. And I'm so happy that that's happening for you. To wrap up, Tristan, what then would be your advice for anyone starting out and considering medicine as a career?
I think making sure you've got a safe place to rest your head every night. I think that's a big thing because you're going to be going on an emotional roller coaster. So being around family, friends, that you can be your complete self, complete raw self, but know that it's okay. That's probably a big thing. Also, I think for me, a way that I got through it was I've got a lot of different groups of friends that do a lot of different things. But I think working in health for a while now, I've got a lot of med and nursing and a lot of health professional friends. And sometimes when you're all together, you can't seem to pull yourself away from talking about something that's happened. Whereas I've got a good group of about 6 or 7 friends that have nothing to do with medicine. And every time I'm with them, they want to know nothing about what I'm doing. And I'm so happy not to talk about it. And I'm happy to hear about what they're doing in their lives. And it really takes you away. And I think having those people around you is something you really need to get through medicine. And I didn't realise until I started medicine how important these people were.
Tristan Marino, a third-year medical student at the School of Rural Health in Orange, New South Wales. This is Destination Medicine. Thanks for listening. Regional training hubs are supported by funding from the Australian Government under the Rural Health Multidisciplinary Training Program.